Please be seated if you're standing. And I'd like to welcome everybody to another class of the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program Teacher Training Certification course. For all of you online, if you're on Facebook, you can look up at the top on the right-hand side or close to the top, and there should be a link there that you can probably figure out how to work on, how to open that up and have all the books at your fingertips, the Peaceful Solution books, so you can be following along. So tonight we will start out by we'll start out with we're in the acceptance unit actually, if the overhead is on. If the overhead is up here. Okay, so this is the acceptance unit, and you can order your own book or you can follow along online. And that's where we're at tonight, and we'll be on page 77. Page 77, and that's actually in chapter 4, which the title is, of course, the importance of friends and friendship. Everybody's got to have friends. You can't go through this life alone on your own with no interaction with anybody, you know. So I'd like to just look at page 76 for a moment. And in the last class, we kind of ended a little hurriedly there. I'd just like to go over a couple things on on page 76, because it's talking about even the best of friendships. At the top of the page, it says, even in the best friendships, individual likes and dislikes can cause conflicts or disagreements. If not handled appropriately, disagreements will result in hurt feelings, anger, and resentment. So it goes on to say maintaining your friendship. That doesn't always mean, agreeing with or going along with or getting bullied into somehow compromising or something like that. You've got to look at the whole situation and determine which way to go, keeping your positive moral character intact. Now, in the middle of the page, conflicts within friendships can usually fall into two categories: those that are based upon the individual preferences and those that are based on moral principles. Now, the individual preferences is personality. The individual likes and dislikes, preferences, that's personality. And everyone has, different personalities to some degree. And then those conflicts within friendships that are based on moral principles. Now, you might think, how could a conflict be based upon moral principles? Well, it's easy. If one person has negative moral principles, or they don't have moral principles but unmoral principles, and then you have someone who has positive moral principles, then there's going to be a problem there. They don't go together. It's not going to work out. If you and your friends disagree over personal preferences, remember to be respectful of their feelings. Don't put them down just because they're different. Use self-control and humility and keep the problem from getting out of hand. Simple words like, I apologize, I was wrong, etc. These things can help cool an argument down. I think I mentioned last time, how can somebody who's mad and going off, how can they even keep responding that way if you look down humbly and just tell them, I'm sorry? It's gonna fizzle out sooner or later. Keep in mind, now down at the bottom paragraph, keep in mind that the most important aspect of maintaining a moral character within positive friendships is to stand up for what is right. You're going to have to do that from time to time. All the time, actually. So if you and your friends disagree over issues that are based on moral principles, such as honesty, respect, responsibility, don't compromise, even for the best of friends. Because if you don't stand for what is right, you can fall for anything. And by standing firm on a moral decision, you will not get pressured into doing something that you will regret. You can also, by your example, encourage and motivate your friends to make choices that are moral as well. And we're going to look at a few scenarios here in a moment. It's far better to separate from someone that you once thought was a friend than to compromise your true moral values. Remember to get counseling, from those that have been learning the peaceful solution longer. A very respected, wise adult friend or someone in authority, that type thing. Look for someone who would be a great example for you to live up to. Look for that person and get advice from them on how to handle that before you just up and separate. It's possible that the other person is working on that and might need your help as a friend. So I would just say get some counseling on it first. Now, look over to page 77. Well, let's always go back. Let's always go back and take a look at the lesson plan and see where we're at. The lesson plan in this case, if I can get back to it, on page lesson plan 4, page E, halfway through procedure 8, we've been through the rest of that. It says have the students turn to page 77 and read the scenarios and decide what choice to make. Now, we're not going to read all the scenarios, but we're going to read a few of them, okay? Remind students that it's normal for friends to find themselves in a disagreement. Yes, we're going to even see that in a couple of the scenarios. And then we'll take the friendship quiz found on pages 78 through 80 and can choose the answer that will best maintain a friendship, okay? Let's go ahead and turn to page 77 for now. And let's take a look at the very first scenario. Of course, the instructions say consider the following scenarios, decide if you should compromise or stand firm on your decision, and explain your choice on the lines provided. So number 1, your friend tries to talk you into taking money from your mother's purse to rent a video game. He said that if you don't, he won't be your friend anymore. Should you compromise? Well, think about it a moment. I think that's probably a pretty easy one for most of us. The answer would be no. You don't compromise. That would be ridiculous. It's wrong to steal, of course. And then just the pure fact that you're being pressured into something. You have a negative influence coming at you very strong. Of course, you are at this point, according to the scenario, calling the person your friend. I wonder if any of these things had shown up previously. That's pretty strong. A friend tries to talk you into taking money from your mother's purse, or anybody's purse, or from anybody. Okay, let's hop down there to number 4. Anne and her sister share a room. Anne really likes the color green. Her sister really likes the color blue. And I alluded to this particular one last week, just briefly. But both get permission to paint their room, whichever color, but Anne's sister says she absolutely refuses to live in a green room. Should Anne compromise? Why or why not? Well, yes, she should. This is not a moral principle that we're talking about here. Number 1 up there, that was because of moral principles. There was a difference there. One person had positive moral principles and the other had negative. So they don't go together. Now in number 4, we're talking about personality. The personality being, hey, I like the color green, I like the color blue, Of course, one way to do it would be to paint one half of the room blue and one half green, and put a little divider up there or something if you had to. Or one of the people could compromise and just say, yeah, well, let's go ahead and paint it blue. But I get the choice of where we ride our bikes to, or something like that. So it's personality, okay? And so yes, you can compromise on personality. So let's look at the little point at the bottom there. Straight talk. There may be times when choosing to uphold a moral principle might cost you a friend. But if someone will give up on your friendship because you choose to do what's right, then he or she wasn't much of a friend to begin with, right? And so we want to keep that in mind. Never let anybody pressure you into doing something negative like that, Like number 1. Now let's go on over to page 78. Now in 78, it starts out by telling us that choosing to uphold a moral decision or compromising over personality differences demonstrates positive character and leadership skills. This can improve the quality of your life and of your friendships. Keep in mind that being a great friend means making choices to be considerate and respectful every time you interact. So it's a choice. Test your friendship IQ to see if you need to improve on your friendship skills. So teachers, when we're doing this with the students, I mean, it's great that we can go through this and do it ourselves to see where we stand and see if we understand fully the proven concepts in the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program. But we'll want to spend a little time, if we can, with our students and really talk about these things. Because you might get somebody that would have answered differently on those last scenarios, and you have a choice here on these scenarios that we're going to talk about coming up. So what we want to do is read the following scenarios and choose the answer that will maintain a friendship. So number one, your friend has a collection of baseball cards that are valuable. He's very particular about them and doesn't allow anyone else to touch them at all. Now, while visiting him one afternoon, he leaves the room. You, A, quickly pick up the cards and begin looking at them. After all, you know what he doesn't know isn't going to hurt him. Or B, respect his request whether he's there or not. Now, a true friend would choose B, not trespassing. Now, number two, your friend keeps making fun of your new haircut, even though you've asked him several times to stop. You, A, start making fun of his big nose. After all, you did ask him to stop. You're justified, right? He did it. Well, he did this. You know. Or B, explain to him that you don't appreciate his comments. So there's nothing wrong with mentioning to somebody when they're doing something like that, or you're being pressured or being bullied like that, that you don't appreciate the comments. And if they get mad from that point, you know, you can choose to leave the situation. Let's go ahead and come on over to the other page, page 79, and look at number 6. Now, your dad has given you permission to go to the game with your friend after you complete your chores, and your friend comes over to wait for you, and A, walks around your house getting into things he doesn't have permission to get into. You ever known anybody like that? Yeah? Okay. B, asks if he could lend you a hand so you won't be late for the game. Well, of course, as we know, B, as most of us would choose, B is the right choice. Number 7, your mother baked a batch of your most loved cookies and gave you instructions to share them with your friend when he came over. You, A, put them away thinking you could eat them all yourself after he leaves. After all, he's not going to miss what he didn't even know he had. Or B, do what your mother instructed, knowing your friend enjoys cookies as much as you do. So the unselfish thing to do would be to choose number B, or letter B. Choose letter B. And if you'll notice, as a teacher, you might see the pattern forming here, where the A answers are not what we would want to do, and the B answers are the ones that we would want to do. And you'll find that throughout this whole thing. So. Okay, so what we want to do now is let's go on over to page 80. And soon, we didn't do a review tonight of the previous class because this class is actually going to be a review. We're going to go to what I have learned. So page 80. Now, how did you do? A answers indicate you need to improve your friendship skills. To keep a friendship positive and make friends feel appreciated, you must be careful to respect their possessions and their feelings. So don't just think that you can step up there and grab someone's pencil or you know, somebody's comb or whatever the case might be. You know, a person has the right to put rules upon their possessions. You know, we've been through this actually in the character unit, talking about possessions, and we get deeper into this as we go on through the Peaceful Solution program. But start working on improving your friendship skills today. Don't wait until tomorrow. If you continue to treat your friends poorly, by tomorrow you might lose a really great friend. So seriously consider the way you treat others. Be honest. Ask yourself, how would you want to be treated? So there we go. Some call it the golden rule, treat others as you want to be treated yourself. And when you think about that, it can get pretty deep in that on, not only physical things that you can see, but also mentally. You would want to treat a person with mental compassion and care and respect and empathy. You wouldn't want to play mental games with them in any way. So interacting with the same patience and consideration, care and concern and so forth that you would want from others. We got to remember that. B answers indicate that you are a great friend. You're kind, respectful, generous, compassionate. And when you interact with others using these positive character traits, you can turn acquaintances into friends and make friends out of enemies. Continue your positive interactions. Your life can only be improved and enriched when you form positive moral friendships. So knowing that our students are probably having some issues with their friends, whether our students are the problem or their friends are the problem, we'll want to be able to really help them with this. And possibly even suggest if they have a problem that they run into that they don't know how to handle, that they can always feel free in coming and talking to you, the teacher. Now we have a few reminders for maintaining friendships. So these are some high points there that you could write down and kind of get them in your mind. So when the situation arises, you'll know how to deal with this. And remember, you can always go back, and that's what these books are for, and that's why we take notes in them and so forth, is you can always go back and find where a certain issue is being talked about and how to deal with it, or suggestions. So be considerate in all your ways and consider how your actions will affect others, treating others as you want to be treated yourself. Lend a helping hand, be willing to pitch in and help when the need arises and it's appropriate to do so. You got to remember the appropriate to do so, okay? Share the ups and downs of life. In other words, keep the lines of communication open. Spend time together. As friends, you will share mutual hobbies and activities. Just to say something, go back to lend a helping hand for a minute, being willing to pitch in and help when the need arises. You got to remember the appropriate to do so. What if you're at work and a friend of yours drives up out in the parking lot and says, "Man, I got to talk to you right away. I really need your help on something, But you're inside and you're at work and you don't have a break at that time, and you don't have the ability, I guess you could go to your supervisor and ask, "Look, can I go see what's wrong here or something?" And if it's okay, go ahead. But if not, you're at work. You can't just bust off and go do that. You would be breaking all kinds of moral principles that we wouldn't want to do. If you live far away, send a card or email with a few positive words that will encourage and motivate. And remember, when we say these positive words that encourage and motivate, we want to make sure that we're doing it without selfish desire. We want to do it out of a true heart, the intent being there to be helpful and compassionate and caring and maintaining a friendship. Don't forget to mention the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program to your friends. Well, that's a great one right there, In fact, all of your friends ought to know about the Peaceful Solution by now. If you're training to be a teacher of the Peaceful Solution, all of your friends should know about the Peaceful Solution. When you do something or when they're doing something that you can encourage them to do it right, if they're doing something wrong and you encourage them to do it right, you can suggest to them then that, hey, I go to a Peaceful Solution class. I teach a Peaceful Solution class. It'd be great to have you there, So always remember that. We want to share this great knowledge that we have. It's not for us to just hold on to and stick back there in the closet somewhere and decide if we want to use it or not from time to time. Okay, Well, let's move on. We're going to go back to procedure number 9 in lesson plan 4, page E. Procedure number 9. We're going to conclude this lesson by instructing our students to read the section, What I've Learned. Now, we're actually doing it here with you tonight and giving you some suggestions on how you can make sure that the students understand some of these points prior to them even getting to this point right here. But what I have learned is found on page 81, and we want to emphasize that everyone needs and wants to have friends. Again, even the author of the Peaceful Solution, I remember him telling me, and others, that everybody needs friends, and lots of them. So we don't want to throw anybody to the side that we can keep from doing that with, okay? Stress to students it's important to accept people for who they are. That's right. It doesn't matter what nationality, what color, what social status, if they're wealthy, if they're poor, or what have you. It just doesn't matter. You respect everybody, and you encourage and support each other. That's what true friends do. You got to tell your students to never give up on making friends too. Just because somebody has done something, or it might be that you've had a few rejections and not feeling very successful at it, just keep plugging along. I guarantee you. The best place to make friends, I think, is amongst others who are learning and teaching the Peaceful Solution. That would be a great place to start. So the best way to make a friend is to learn how to become a true friend by practicing values that we learn from this character education program. Okay? So without further ado, let's go ahead and go to page 81. And we're going to start out with bullet point number 1. Or I should say checkpoint number 1. One aspect of healthy interactions is developing and maintaining friendships based on positive moral character. Okay, so I'm going to show you a picture of it seems like a friendship has formed, but I don't think it's based upon necessarily positive moral character. I think you'll understand when you see it. It's on the overhead. Looks like there might be a friendship that's formed there, doesn't it? So I think it's out of mutual need probably somehow, but I just wanted you to see that. So we can't just let our friendships go like that. We've got to work on our friendships because we have the ability to choose. We have the ability to learn. We can learn this positive moral character and base our friendships upon it. Let's go ahead and turn to page 61 in our acceptance unit. Page 61. And let's start right there at the top of the paragraph. Do you know what can occur when you develop and maintain communication and interaction with others? You can form strong, lasting friendships. Interaction where there is mutual respect for others and their possessions results in opportunities to get to know, appreciate, and value someone's. Someone to the point where you can call them a friend. And having friends who share the same moral principles, who are compassionate and caring towards others, gives us a sense of belonging and creates a feeling of acceptance. And then right there at the bottom, in this lesson you will learn the importance of friendships. You will also learn that the most important thing friends can do is to encourage and motivate each other to make choices that will support their positive growth and development. Now, that pretty much covers the next point too, the next checkpoint. Having friends is an important part of our moral growth and development. And so, you know, that whole page kind of covers the first two checkpoints. And then, of course, throughout that chapter, chapter 4, you're going to be learning about these things. But let's go to, if you've got your character unit, let's go to page 3 of your character unit. And we're talking about that maintaining and developing this positive moral character, maintaining these friendships through positive moral character. And if you look at about the middle of the page, second paragraph, it says everyone has character. Character is what helps each and every person to determine what is right and wrong. So here's why, just like in the scenarios, we would have a situation like scenario number 1 that we went through. We would have a situation where we had to make a moral choice, all right? And we would choose between right and wrong. A person's character consists of patterns of behavior that are considered either positive or negative. And your character reflects who you are on the inside, and it goes beyond what the casual eye can see. Now, the casual eye, what the casual eye will see is personality. And personality, if you turn to page 23 in your character unit again. And page 23 says, what is personality? And this is so important to be able to get to this point that you can determine the difference between character and personality. It's extremely important that you can do that. And there's sometimes some gray areas there that are hard to figure out. It takes time. And this is one of the things, as a teacher of the Peaceful Solution, we should be a little more astute in this knowledge. We should have a little more of it and be a little more able to share this with our students and help them out in times of need. So because it's so easy to confuse personality and character, it's important to explore what's meant by personality. Personality is made up of behavioral traits that are unique to each individual. Personality is the process you choose in how you govern your feelings, your attitudes, and your preferences, your likes and dislikes. It's the basis by which you choose to interact with others. That's right. You're probably not going to be seeing a person's true character within moments of meeting them, but you will see their personality. It's something you can see like right away. So, for example, when you first meet someone, you notice if they smile when they say hello, or you might notice if they're humorous, serious, outgoing, or shy, and so forth. And it goes into talking about colors and hobbies and everything. And that whole chapter in the character unit, you can go through there and learn, the differences on page 25, character versus personality. You really need to focus on that to really learn the differences between those. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the third checkpoint. Now, finding true lasting friendships is a process. Remember, it's a process. It takes time. It doesn't occur overnight, okay? That requires commitment, compromise, patience, and accepting the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program. And the reason we keep saying the Peaceful Solution, not only is this Peaceful Solution Character Education Program that we're learning and teaching here, but it's the only one that I and many others have ever been able to find that covers all aspects and covers them properly of what is indeed proper, positive, moral character. I've seen many other programs that talk about character, and they're right in many things, but they're wrong in many things also. And so we've got to really watch that. We want to weigh this. We want to prove it to be true, which you can do with the Peaceful Solution Program. So it's a process. Let's turn over to page 63 in our acceptance unit. And so page 63 shows us here from, deciding to be friends. Finding that true lasting friendship is a process. And so you see this particular process right here, like it's numbered. Number 1, there's an observation stage. Observe the person, how they treat others, and so forth. And it takes time. There's an introductory stage. So once you've observed that person a little bit, and you see that they are respectful and well-mannered and so forth, you might choose to introduce yourself to go further here. Now, the number 3 stage, this process of deciding to be friends, it's listen carefully to what your potential friend says. What does he or she believe about moral principles? If your potential friend tells you that cheating is okay, you know what, we got a problem. Look at number 4, the deciding stage. So you want to carefully consider, and I would again say, probably with some counseling, it wouldn't hurt to talk to your Peaceful Solution teacher and someone with more knowledge and wisdom in the program, someone who's proven themselves true. It wouldn't hurt to talk to them and explain how the process is going from there and see what they can add to it, okay? But carefully consider if you want to pursue a friendship with someone who is dishonest or cheats and steals, which you won't want to, I'm pretty sure. It's a proven fact that you will be known by the company that you keep. That's important to remember too. You'll be known by the company you keep. In fact, on the bottom of page 81, you see a little cartoon there. It says you're known by the company you keep also. It's a very important point to remember. Speaking of that, the next checkpoint, number 4, I will be known by the company that I keep. Therefore, I must be careful when choosing my friends, making sure that they too desire positive moral character. And so there it is right there. And in number 4 of this sequence here, if you look at the bottom paragraph, it says the decision to build a friendship must be mutual. You can't force it on somebody. You must both want to be friends because true friendship is never one-sided. I mean, it can't be. For example, a true friend will never expect money or gifts from you for being your friend, The truth is, you cannot buy friendship. If you find yourself giving away your belongings or money to keep your friends, then stop. There's something wrong with that situation. Here's a cold, hard fact. Anyone who expects you to buy his or her friendship is not a friend, and true friendship comes from the heart. It requires commitment, respect, and concern for one another. Now in checkpoint number 5, a true friend is positive, moral, and will support and encourage me. And I'd like to also include number 6 here. A friend is someone I can have fun with, easily talk to, accept me for who I am, and will help me make right choices and teach others the same thing. So not only being a positive influence to everyone around you and teaching it in that manner too, and that is one way we teach, through our actions. Our actions do speak louder than words. But let's look over to page 69 and review a little bit right there. And you should make notes in your book so you can go back to these things, because you'll want to when you're dealing with your students, so you can point out some of these high points, some of these basic concepts of the Peaceful Solution that is just, you got to get them in your head. So on page 69, so as important as friends are, halfway or the second paragraph, as important as friends are, what's even more important is to make choices that show respect for yourself and others. If someone tries to talk you into doing something you know is wrong, stand up for what you know is right, even if it costs you your friendship. A true friend will realize the importance of making right choices and will respect you for your decisions. They might not always like it right at first, but you got to give people room to grow a little bit. You've got to give yourself room to grow too when you make a mistake along the way. But a true friend eventually will realize the importance of making right choices and will respect you for your decisions. They'll come to understand that you're trying to do what's right. In addition to this, a true friend will admit that he was wrong and thank you for helping him stay on the right track. He or she might even be interested in knowing how you became so firm in your moral characteristics, and wouldn't that make you feel great, and being able to share the Peaceful Solution again, okay? Let's look at checkpoint number 6, or yes, 7, I'm sorry. Now, we talked about this quite a bit, but and it includes bullying too, but excluding labeling and stereotyping, or excluding labeling and stereotyping others are wrong. It's the wrong thing to do. I need to get to know someone based upon their character and personality because these are the qualities that true friendships are based upon. Let's turn over to page 70. And let me see if I've got something. No. At one point in time, I remember there's the thing called the Black's Law Dictionary, and in there they've got legal terminology that's used in court proceedings and litigation and so forth. And in that, it actually talks about this very thing we're talking about right now. And it specifically states bullying in there. It has a couple different definitions of a bully, but it comes down to someone who's trying to force somebody through intimidation, embarrassment, or other means to do something that they're really not wanting to do. And in another example or another definition, it talks about actually bringing physical harm to the person through the same process. So as we think about this bullying and this stereotyping and these cliques, that takes place in all of these. Through trying to influence somebody, force somebody through stereotyping and being in a clique or a gang, or through bullying. This is a big deal, and we should never be involved in it. So on page 70, right there at the top, it says, sometimes fitting in and being accepted means finding the group of friends that you're most comfortable with. Wanting to be around those who share similar interests and values is normal, but it does not change the fact that we're individuals. Even though it is a fact that no two people are alike, there are those who form opinions and make statements about others that make it appear that specific groups of people are alike in certain ways, which they don't have to be. These statements are called generalizations, and they are usually nothing more than someone's opinion made to sound like fact. The generalizations are usually inaccurate and unfair, and there's a couple examples there. Smarter, studious people are geeks or nerds or whatever down through the ages that they've been called, and so forth. Needless to say, these statements are untrue. So down at the bottom it says these questions, some of the things that were asked beforehand, but they help us realize the dangers of generalizations, stereotyping, and labeling. If we believe these unfair and cruel ideas about others, it will negatively affect the way in which we relate and the effort we're willing to put forth in getting to know them. It's going to put a wall up there. If we go over to the other page, it talks about the cliques. Cliques can also pose barriers to developing friendships. They can be exclusive and unaccepting of those who are different or do not fit our particular mold. And pretty much every clique I've ever known of does include bullying and embarrassment and harassment and so forth. Cliques encourage the conformity because you must be willing to change your way of thinking and behaving in order to fit in and be accepted by other members of the clique. Now, that might sound like it's okay because there's positive and negative conformity, but no, it's not, because cliques are segregated. They separate from others, and they push a direct way of conforming that could be, some of the things could be personality things like what you wear, and some of the things could be moral character, whether negative. And most of the time it is a negative moral character that's involved in these things. So keep that in mind. I don't think if you're looking for a lot of friends that are moral, that have positive moral character, I don't think that you would want to be forming cliques. Like right here in this classroom right now, I know many of the people out here personally, and I would say that nobody out there would want to be forming a clique, just to, step aside and be separate from others. I think we all would like to be friends because we're all pushing to learn this great program, the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program. All right, now the last checkpoint there are skills I can use that will enable me to have healthy interactions with others and build relationships that can last a lifetime. Now, on page 80, if you look over there, there's those few reminders, and these are some of the skills that you can form that can help and build relationships that can last a lifetime. You can be considerate in all your ways, consider how your actions will affect others, lend a helping hand, be willing to pitch in, share the ups and downs of life, spend time together, etc. And if you look at the overhead there, I would say that, who knows, these guys could have just met and everything, but they might have been lifelong friends. And we're talking about having lifelong friends that you can have when you're young and continue on to a ripe old age right here, okay? That's what we're looking for. Friends that can be friends, actually, you know what? Forever. That's what we're looking for, okay? Okay, well that concludes this lesson, and of course on page 82 and 83, there's a couple things that you could do if you wanted to, some enrichment activities, and then of course, just for fun, you could do that. And there's a search puzzle, a word search puzzle on page 85. So these things are pretty neat to do, and it can help instill a few things in your mind. Just like the word search, it has words like honest, patient, kind, trustworthy, friend, loyal, responsible, respectful, understanding, encouraging. I mean, if you find the word, then you could go to the dictionary or to the glossary in the Peaceful Solution and find that word and see what it actually really means. A lot of times we're reading over words that we don't really know what it means. We think we do, but we might not really. If you haven't looked at some of those words in a long time, it might benefit you to do so. Okay. Now, what we could do is, at this point, I would like to turn over to page, if you have a teacher's manual, I'd like to go to Lesson Plan 5, page A. Now, this is the beginning of Chapter 5. And in Chapter 5, the name of it is There is a Purpose to It All. And this is the note to the teacher. So this note to the teacher, being you, the teacher in training, and myself continuing to learn and so forth, and all the teachers of the Peaceful Solution, this is a note to us. This is one of the things that the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program is trying to get us to understand by conveying this in a very precise way, where we can understand it as the teacher, so that we can then give it and share it with our students, okay? So let's take a look at this note to the teacher. Now, there is a purpose to it all. And one of the things that I particularly like about this is that in life in general, I remember growing up, if you could look at the overhead there for a minute, that was a question right there in my mind all my life. Why am I here? What is all this about? And so you can leave that up for a minute, but some others here in this room and online too, I'm sure have had the same thoughts. What is this all about? Why are we here? What are we doing? Why do we have war? Why do we have this? And why is life so hard sometimes? Why do people die? And so forth. Well, why am I here? All right, so that's an important thing to answer. And a lot of people deal with it by getting frustrated and they don't get any answers and they commit suicide. Many people do that. Or they forget all about it and just say, forget it, no one can ever answer that, and they decide to live a life of all-out rebelliousness and disobedience and just a ridiculous life, and doing whatever they want to do, whenever they want to do it, if they can afford to, or even if they can't, by taking things out on other people and so forth. So we want to look at this a different way, though. With the Peaceful Solution, guess what? You found your purpose. And we're going to learn that here in this chapter as these classes go on. We're just going to break into it a little bit tonight with the note to the teacher. And so keep that in mind. Why you're here, you're fixing to learn if you continue tuning in here to the Peaceful Solution Teacher Certification course and watching and studying in these classes. So let's go ahead and look at this note to the teacher. Now, one of the saddest experiences of teaching is to see students with potential who are bright and promising fall prey to negative conformity and peer pressure. I know a lot of teachers, and I know I know teachers in public school, I know teachers in private school, I know teachers of the Peaceful Solution, I know many teachers, and I can tell you, this is always one of the things that hurts the most is when, I don't know what could hurt worse, possibly seeing, an avoidable death of a young person or something that could have been avoided possibly, or but this is one of the hardest things to deal with. One of the saddest experiences of teaching, and this is going to occur, it's just inevitable that it does, is to see students with potential who are bright and promising fall prey to negative conformity and peer pressure, because it's out there. And that's why we press real hard on it, these influences. You have to remember, an influence is anything that can affect the way you think, act, or feel. Okay? Anything. It's as simple as, there's this flu season, and it's as simple as that. Flu, influence. The word flu is in there. And a flu definitely can affect the way that you think, feel, and act, can it? And that's a more physical thing. But, mentally, the influences that come just from seeing a billboard or hearing a song or a certain smell or, seeing somebody that you haven't seen in a long time. These influences, they come back and they hit you hard. And so you've got to be strong and have a lot of positive influences and a lot of positive peer pressure, which will bring forth positive conformity. So, however, without the understanding that their lives have meaning and purpose, and this is really one of the biggest things, I think if we look back in our life, it really is, just like the thing showed, people asking, why am I here? What is this all about? What is the purpose of all this? So without the understanding that a person's life has meaning and purpose, then an increasing number of children are making choices that rob them of their futures. Yeah. If there's no meaning and purpose, then what is the purpose of even being around? If you're having a rough time, hey, why put up with it? If you don't think there's any purpose to your life. Well, we're here to help you understand that it's way different than that you do have purpose and meaning in your life. And I'm talking to everyone here in the class here tonight in person and everybody out there online too. If this has been a question in your life, guess what? You found the answer. Just stay tuned in, okay? In our fast-paced society, it's no longer shocking that a number of children who become pregnant in their early teens is growing and that alcohol and drug addictions continue to plague our youth. And not only that, this was written, of course it's current today too, but there are a few things you could add to that. In that when you consider where the internet has come forth so strong over the years, and the telephone, it's out there, everybody's got one, at your fingertips you can have negative influences popping into your mind and into your eyes. You can also have positive influences doing the same thing, but a lot of people choose the negative over the positive. So in our fast-paced society, people are making wrong decisions. All of these things continue to plague our youth, from the drug addiction, from the teen pregnancies and so forth, and the things that come forth from the negative songs and the negative videos and which are so prevalent out there and so popular with young people. But as educators and role models, we can no longer be satisfied with teaching just the core subjects. I'm sorry, this right here is extremely important to me. If only my teachers which I could think of one public school teacher that I had that really was concerned in how children conducted themselves and what they were looking forward to in their future. Of everybody, not just a few. It was amazing to me. And I can remember family members and, friends, which I didn't even know how to choose a friend, but family members that, found it easy to write a life off. In other words, that person's never going to change. They're going to end up in prison and so forth. They're never going to change, and they just write it off, and it's over with. No help anywhere. But as educators and role models, that's us. We can no longer be satisfied with just teaching the core subjects: math, reading, spelling, science. We can't be satisfied with that. We have to teach positive moral character education. We've got to help now while we can, because this is the only way that children and adults alike, possibly some of us out there right now, will understand that we do have meaning and purpose in our lives, and that our lives do have value. This is one of the main points in the Peaceful Solution Character Education program, that all lives have value, and all lives have meaning, and all lives have purpose. You might not see it right away, but if you hang in there a little bit, you'll see it. You'll see that everyone has purpose. When we consider that the HIV infection is growing fastest among people between the ages of 15 and 21, it becomes painfully evident that our educational system must do more. Because mom and dad is working so much, and the only other teacher they have is right here, and friends. So we've got to do more to help get that positive moral education in there. We've got to work together to combat the overwhelming number of negative influences, which we've talked a little bit about, that perpetuate our children's inability to make moral choices. All those negative influences, how can they make a moral choice if they're not getting the moral influences in there too? How could they possibly do it? Why should they even care if they don't think that their life has value? If by looking at their parents and teachers and everyone around them, if they're not showing that person that their life has value and meaning and purpose, then why should they even care? That's why it's up to us. It's up to us that shows there is somebody that cares. It's up to us that shows there is somebody that understands the value and the meaning and the purpose. So in this lesson, students will understand that they can develop meaning and purpose in life. Guess what? Here's the short answer, but it is by assisting others. It's by assisting others, by helping others. How can you help them? It's not by giving them $50. It's by getting them involved in this peaceful solution so that they can learn the same moral character education that you're currently learning, and learning how to teach so they can learn how to teach also. And then this can explode. We've learned a little bit about the ripple effect and how that takes place in our lives. And we have to be aware that when we do something, it has a long-lasting effect on and on and on, whether it be positive or whether it be negative. So we need to remember that. So the student will also learn that their purpose in life is far more profound than choosing a character or gaining wealth or fame. Yeah, you can look at some of the big names out there that have a lot of influence in people's lives, and that their influence comes from not respect and great character and teaching others that they have value, meaning, and purpose in life. It comes from force. It comes from buying with money. It comes from all these things, but that's going to go nowhere. A person that dies without knowing the meaning of their life and without having realized that their life has value, and there's a lot of people that are very wealthy that don't think their lives have value, they wouldn't be committing suicide if it wasn't true. But our students are going to learn that this purpose in life is far better than any of that. And then our students will also appreciate that having purpose in life separates those that succeed from those who succumb to negative conformity and life-shattering choices. Now, don't think that just because you're a little on the old side of the scale, some of you guys out there that might be a little bit older than me or just a little bit younger than me, don't think that just because we're a little more mature that we can't change. If this has been part of our life, all these negatives all our life, don't think that it's too late to change, because it is not. It would have been better for us if we could have grown up learning the peaceful solution and applying it in our lives, and we could have taught many, many people great positive character all along the way, and had that great ripple effect taking place. Well, guess what? It's actually a great time. It's actually a great time, since now that we know that our lives have value, meaning, and purpose, guess what it's a great time for? Let's see. It's a great time to start right now. We realize now that our lives have purpose. You're going to understand it even more as we go through this lesson. It's a beautiful lesson. Don't miss it if you can possibly refrain from it. You want to be here. You want to be able to understand how valuable you are. And remember, right here, it's never too late. You got purpose in life, and now is the time to start to share it with others and to bring forth that purpose in your ability to teach and help others in every way. I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. We surely do appreciate you being here and wanting to learn the peaceful solution and how to teach the peaceful solution. It's a great and wonderful thing. And I'd like to mention that we will have class this coming Sunday, actually at 5:30. And so mark that on your calendar. You'll want to be here, and we'll continue on in this particular chapter. Don't miss it. It really, really is great. So thank everybody for coming, and look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.